Welcome back to Planet Doug Behind the Scenes for Thursday, August 3rd. It's about 7 o'clock in the morning. And this will be the behind the scenes story of my Harau Valley video, which I'll be posting to the main Planet Doug channel. Eventually, the video I make about my trip to the Harau Valley will have a number, right? It'll be like number 65 of the Bukitingi videos, and it will have a name, but I don't know what number it will be, and I don't know what the title of the video will be either, so I can't really connect this behind the scenes video officially with the Planet Doug video, but it is about the Harau Valley. So this is the story of going to the Harau Valley. This is also an important day in the world of cameras because DJI released the Action 4, and I'm very interested to see what they did with that camera. The headline feature, according to leaks, is that they added a much larger sensor, which will be better in low light, but it could have all kinds of other positive and negative effects on an action camera to put a new sensor in it. So I don't know what other changes they made. And normally I would dive into the videos, like there's like an embargo. People, like for reviewers, there's an embargo until the camera is officially released and announced. So a lot of reviewers have already had the camera and they've been testing it and putting together opinions about it, but they can't post the videos until the official day when the embargo is lifted, and that was last night. And so I guess the internet has been flooded with videos about the Action 4, but up here, again, I still don't really have access to the internet, so I don't even know. I have no idea what people think, if this is a good camera or a terrible camera. So frustrating. Yeah, being cut off from the internet can drive you crazy. And I think my throat is also really struggling. I mentioned the other day, I don't know what dish it is, as I said, what Indonesian dish it is, but the family in this house, for breakfast, every morning they fry something in the wok. And they fry it at such high temperatures that it burns the oil or something. And it floods the air with this gas. It's really hard to breathe sometimes. And just now I was in the bathroom taking my shower, and and it's right beside the kitchen. So while I was taking my shower and shaving and brushing my teeth, that's right when they started frying this oil in the wok, and the bathroom filled with this gas. I found it hard. I couldn't breathe. It's a weird feeling. It's weird. It's not like a gas. It doesn't burn my eyes, has no effect on my eyes. It's just, it's hard to really breathe it in. I feel like I need a firefighter's respirator to go to the bathroom now. That's pretty funny. But anyway, having a bit of trouble speaking right now. Yeah, doesn't seem to bother them. I guess they grew up with this dish, whatever it is, and the oil vapor that comes off that wok. But anyway, we'll see if I can get my act together here. So, the Harau Valley. I knew almost nothing about this place other than that it existed. It involved canyon walls and waterfalls, and it's a tourist attraction near the city of Payakumbuh. That's pretty much all I knew about it. Before I came to the Bukitingi area, I'd never heard of the Harau Valley. It wasn't until I arrived in Payakumbuh, maybe people, local people want to help you out, give you advice on places you need to visit as a tourist. Well, you need to go here, you need to go here. And then people would say, oh, you need to go to the Harau Valley. That's one of our tourist attractions. So I knew the name, but that's pretty much all I knew. So now that I have the scooter, I've been putting together a list of all these things. People tell me, you have to go here, you have to go here, you have to go here. And now that I have the scooter, I can go to these places as day trips. And as it turns out, you're probably better off going to the Harau Valley as an overnight trip and staying in a guest house inside Harau Valley. I didn't really know how feasible that was. When I looked at Google Maps for the Harau Valley, you see just outside of the city of Payakumbu, you see a small road, and then it branches into a loop, and you see this road that does a loop, and that is where the Google Maps pin is that says, okay, this is the Harau Valley, and it goes in a loop, and then the road comes out again. And I saw on Google Maps some guest houses in there, but I've had that experience in Indonesia before, where there's a guest house marked on a map in a tourist area, but it turns out that it doesn't really exist, or it's not open. A lot of these places have just closed for lack of business, or they are resorts and they're extremely expensive. So I never even considered staying in one of those places. Like, you know, if there's a big tourist attraction and there's a hotel right beside the tourist attraction, chances are it's a resort and it's very, very expensive. So I never really consider these places. If I did stay overnight, I would have stayed in Payakumbu, the nearby city, and then I could have gone to the Harau Valley and stayed in Payakumbu again. But then I did the math on the distance, and right from here, the village, to the very tip of the Harau Valley was 55 kilometers. So in theory, it would be 110 kilometers round trip if I ride there, explore the valley, and then ride all the way back. And I thought, well, the other day I did 135 kilometers on really rough, steep roads, and I managed to do that okay. It was a bit hard, but it was fine. And this road going to Payakumbu is a major road, and it's all downhill, and it's pretty much all straight all the way down to Payakumbu. So I figured 110 kilometers of that kind of riding would be much easier than what I did when I went to the Mananjau Valley, or Mananjau Lake. So I decided, there's no point even staying in a hotel in Payakumbu. I decided to just ride my scooter there, explore, ride back again, which is what I did do. But when I got there, there were guest houses everywhere. I was so surprised. I was not expecting this at all. Even as you're leaving Payakumbu and riding towards, the official entrance to the valley, because there's actually a ticket booth, and they charge 5,000 rupiah per person. So just a nominal fee. As I said in the video, they could easily double, triple, or quadruple that. I mean, I don't even know why they're bothering. Why would you charge 5,000 rupiah for anything? I mean, if you're going to have people standing there collecting money, I mean, make it 10, make it 20. It amounts to the same thing, basically. But anyway, it was 5,000 rupiah, and they give you an official ticket with a QR code on it that is printed out by this little printer. A woman and a man were there at the entrance, and very friendly, very helpful. The woman spoke English very well, and she offered to get me a guide if I wanted one, like a local guide. Like, do you need a guide? And I can get one for you if you'd like someone to go with you around the valley. Yeah. So I was thinking, if you have these two people there anyway, you might as well, charge 20,000. I mean, I don't think it would make any difference to anybody. 10,000, like you could at least double it to 10. Yeah, I'm not sure why it's 5, but anyway, that's what you pay. And even before you get to that entrance, you're passing guest house, and I'm sure in all those guest houses, some of them would be at a reasonable budget. I mean, they would have to be. I mean, so if you did the work, you could find a place to stay within your budget, whatever it is. And then you cross the entrance way, the ticket booth, and then you're right in this amazing scenery. That's the Harau Valley, but then there are guest houses everywhere. The place is just filled with them. And they're building more. There's more being built all the time. So it's guest house, on both sides of the road. Guest house. You're just everywhere. And some of them are quite nice. I would say most of them are nice. There are a couple that have really nice settings beside a small pond with cliffs towering behind them. Others, a lot of A-frames made out of, like, brand new places, like A-frames made out of really nice wood, They look like cottages from Canada. A whole variety of places. So I think part of the experience of going to the Harau Valley would be to stay there in one of those guest houses. I think that would be a nice addition to the experience. So I probably should have done that, and maybe I would have done it, but I don't think any of these places are listed online. So that's another trick, I think, to the Harau Valley. These guest houses, when I did my little Agoda searches months and months ago, nothing came up. So I didn't see any listings for anything there, which led me also to conclude that none of these places are open, or they're seasonal, or they're really expensive. I just sort of dismissed them, and I didn't plan to stay overnight. And yeah, I think considering everything that's there, the best way to experience the valley would be to stay overnight. Of course, then you'd have to get food, and I guess because there's nothing real. Well, there's a couple of little places you can get, noodles, things like that. But and there are villages there. There are a couple of villages inside the Harau Valley as well, and local people are living there. The main valley itself is all rice fields, and that is one of the highlights because the rice fields set off the towering cliffs, on all sides of this canyon. Because it's not really a valley. I would call it a canyon, the Harau Canyon. Technically it is a valley, but it's not like there are mountains on both sides, and then the slopes of the mountains come down to the valley. No, these are sheer walls, straight up rock cliffs, all the way around. Just these towering cliffs on all sides, and that's what makes it a special attraction. Really beautiful from that point of view. These rock cliffs going straight up. So it's more like a canyon, I think, than a valley, but who knows? We'll have to debate that with geographers, I guess. I think my water is boiling for coffee. Maybe that will open up my throat, get myself a cup of coffee. The coffee isn't really helping. I think I got practically a lethal dose of the oil vapor this morning. I couldn't help it. I had to breathe it in because I was right there. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that stuff. Let's see. I need another sip of this coffee. All right, so Harau Valley. Yeah, I got my scooter ready, and I won't go on and on about it, but I came up with a new GoPro mounting system the other day that I was very pleased with, but it turns out it has a fatal flaw. Actually, I can show you the heart and soul of it. What I decided to do was take this, which is the GoPro 3-way grip, and mount this on my scooter. And to my surprise, it worked out relatively well. And the only reason it worked well is stuff like this. I have so many of these. I have so many bags of GoPro goodies. It's insane. But you have to have stuff like this when you live that GoPro life. It's crazy. So I happen to have GoPro and Insta360, I should clarify, because this gizmo comes with an Insta360 camera. Like if you get their motorcycle bundle, you get these in it, which are these giant clamps with the 1-inch balls on it, which work with the RAM mounts. So yeah, should have got one of those out as well. So you end up with one of these massive clamps, which are really, really powerful, and then you have a ball head on there, and then you can take one of these RAM mounts, which click over top of the ball, and then you can tighten them down. So this is kind of the key to the whole system. And basically, as a rule of thumb, the only thing that works on a motorcycle or a scooter or a bicycle is a RAM mount. Nothing else will hold strong enough. That's the rule of thumb. These guys with these 1-inch balls and these really big levers, you can tighten those down enough and they will not move. Everything else will move. I don't care what you're using. I don't care how you're trying to attach. Unless you've welded steel to the frame, no other mounting system will work. Only these 1-inch balls, with the ram mount system. And you have to get ram mounts as well. There's cheap imitations of these. They don't work because they will not grip hard enough. You got to get original ram mount. And then, of course, you can get these things from, Insta360, wherever you get these claws. Like ram mount, this is a ram mount thing. They make these as well. So you can get these claws with the 1-inch balls or from ram mount directly, or you can get them from Insta360. So basically, this is the key to the whole thing. And the reason it's key is that to mount any kind of an extension pole on your scooter, you need 2 mounting points. You cannot mount the bottom. Like if all you do is put a little screw hole in the bottom and try to hold it like this, there's no way. It just will not. I don't care what you're using. You can't just mount the bottom and think it's going to stay in place. The first bump you go over, it's either going to break or it's just going to go down because you cannot get something on the bottom. So what you need to do, and what I did, is you have to have 2 mounting points. One at the bottom to hold the base, and then another one part way up. So you have to have 2 mounting points. And now that will stay in place. Holding it right on the bottom, not a chance. You need bottom and part way up. So the system I worked out is I have one of these clamped to the bottom. So that holds the bottom in place. And then up here, this, by chance, happens to line up perfectly with the mirror stock. So you've got a mirror on the scooter, and it's got a piece of steel that's screwed into the scooter frame very strongly, and then this lines up perfectly with the mirror stock, the base of it. So this actually rests on top of the scooter dashboard, right beside the mirror stock, and then I can use like elastic bands and straps, and then tie this firmly to the mirror stock. So then, and it's resting on top of the scooter as well. So then this whole thing stays in place. So that's my new mounting system. The problem I ran into is what I talked about earlier, that the only thing that will stay in place is a ram mount. It's the only thing. And at the very top of the GoPro 3-way, it does have kind of a tripod. It does have a ball head, just like this has a ball head, but it's not designed for bouncing up and down. So, it's got a little lever here, and then you line up your camera, get it on the right angle, and then you close the lever. But this will still move. It's not going to be tight enough. And there's a lot of plastic here, so you can mess around, and there's a screw here, you can tighten it a little bit, but it's not perfect, because when you go over a bump, this can move. So you kind of have to monitor it a little bit and occasionally put your GoPro back in position. But this is a really nice system. It's the best I've come up with so far. So anyway, that's what I did, mounting my GoPro when I went to the Harau Valley. And as I said, it was downhill almost the entire way. Crazy traffic. I mean, just insane. The trucks, and everybody's moving at different speeds. So if you're in a faster vehicle like a car or a scooter or a motorcycle, you have to pass all the slower vehicles. So it's not like you can get on, it's not like being on a freeway system where you just put it in cruise control and then kick back and just enjoy the ride. No, you're like an Indy 500 driver the entire time, because you are forced to pass all the time. I mean, if you wanted to, I suppose you could get right behind one of these convoys of big trucks and just stay there the whole time, but it'll drive you crazy, and then you're breathing in the exhaust from these dinosaur trucks, because some of them are blowing out that thick black smoke. So you can't really stay behind the trucks. And if you do, the people coming up behind you, they all want to pass the trucks. And if you're sitting there behind the truck, refusing to pass, you're making passing more difficult for the vehicles behind you, and they're going to hate you. So like if you get some timid driver at the very front of the convoy behind the trucks, and that person is too scared to pass, and they're like driving an SUV or a car, I mean, they cause chaos because now people have to get past that car and the trucks. And that car is often moving out to the right because they want to look past the trucks, you know. So they're blocking the view of the, and it's a crazy day of driving, let me tell you. And you have to pass all the time. So if you're not a confident driver, if you don't have the confidence to gun it and go around other vehicles on these narrow, crowded roads that are curving, I said it's straight, but I mean, this, I'm talking about, this is not Saskatchewan straight. This is not Canadian prairie straight. I'm talking about Indonesia straight, which means, yeah, it's still curving, but it's not actually going like this. So it's straight, but in Indonesian terms. So it's still curving. So it's got tons and tons of blind corners. And of course, you've got all the other types of traffic, you know, people on like carts, like farmers' carts and things, and little putt-putts selling snacks, you know, to school children. You're passing lots of schools where there's kids running, you know. It's for me, it's fun. I had an amazing time. I just loved it from beginning to end. Just like the driving is so much fun. It all gets into this idea of the journey is better than the destination, and that can be true sometimes. I mean, you know, I'm riding my scooter to the Harau Valley, which is a beautiful place to see, but the journey to get there is what makes it special, you know, is what makes it a great day. So yeah, I just like, especially once you get into the rhythm. I had some trouble getting into the rhythm at the beginning because I was riding from the village to get to the main road. I followed all the back country roads for a while. And there's a lot of really confusing intersections, like it's like a web of these little roads. And occasionally I had to stop just to check Google Maps, and I would often make a wrong turn. I got to turn around, and there was so many kids going to school. These countryside roads are filled with families on like family scooters loaded down with kids, taking them to school. And they're nuts the way they drive those scooters with all the kids on them. I mean, they're not using signal lights, and you never know when they're going to pull over to the side of the road. There's a school, they'll cut across traffic, they'll do all kinds of crazy things, and they're just zooming around in all directions. And I wasn't in the rhythm yet for that, so I had trouble adjusting at the very beginning. But then over time, okay, I woke up and I got into the rhythm, and then I was on the main road, and then it was just like, you know, just gun it and get around all these trucks. And that was a lot of fun. Going there and coming back. Coming back was even better. I guess I really found my groove when I was coming back. And yeah, the scooter works beautifully. It's got good responsive power. I've had scooters in the past where they just barely top out at their maximum speed to get around one of these trucks. And then, yeah, that can be nerve-wracking. But if you've got a good scooter like I have now, you know, also with my old scooters, you know, you turn the throttle all the way up, but it takes the scooter like 2.5 seconds to respond. It's like you're giving it all this gas, and it just goes, you know, it just eases into the higher power. This one that I have now, I mean, you hit the throttle and it lurches forward. I mean, it wants to go. So, you know, when the time was there to go, I just hit the throttle and I go. So that was a lot of fun. Intersections could be very confusing. There were some like T intersections, and I keep thinking, I think I know what I'm doing, you know. We drive on the left here, not on the right. So intersections can be confusing for someone like me that grew up in Canada, because intersections, you kind of have an instinctive feeling about how you make a left or right-hand turn at an intersection. And when you're driving on the opposite side of the road, sometimes your brain gets confused. Like, okay, how do I make this right-hand turn when I'm driving on the left? And other people around you, exactly which, you do get a little bit confused. And I thought maybe I was making mistakes, but I think it was the people around me were just doing nutty things. Because I'd be at an intersection wanting to turn right, and I'm on the left side of the road, and people would be coming this way, and they want to turn onto this road, but they should be turning in front of me to go down the left lane. And they kept trying to turn behind me on the other side. And I thought, oh, shoot, am I doing something wrong? Like, am I in the wrong place, you know? And of course, I stop when there's a stop sign, or when there's a really busy intersection. I actually come to a complete stop before I make the turn, and very few people do that. So I confuse other people because I've stopped and nobody's expecting me to stop, you know. Even going through Payakumbu, I eventually gave in, because Payakumbu is a very long, straight city. And it's quite flat. It's unusually flat for this part of Sumatra. So flat that you actually see a lot of cyclists, like cycling clubs, go out on expeditions in Payakumbu because it is perfectly flat. But they have this long main road that just seems to go on forever and has a lot of intersections with traffic lights. And they're working traffic lights. And some of them are T intersections. So there's a road going this way, the main road, but another road comes in and dead ends. So it's a T, but there's still a traffic light there. So people riding this way encounter a red light. Technically, you are supposed to stop, but nobody stops. Nobody stops. So there's like 5 traffic lights in a row where you run into a red light and nobody stops. They just go right through it. And I mean, you know, in theory, it's safer to follow traffic rules. I mean, traffic lights are there for safety reasons. But if nobody else stops at the red light, if you stop, you're just going to get rear-ended. You know, you're going to cause an accident by obeying the law. So once I picked up on the fact that everybody's just blasting right through these red lights, I just did the same thing. You know, I'm just moving with traffic. So, I mean, I just went through the red lights myself. Now, it was the safer thing to do. But yeah, I didn't really notice that when I was coming down for some reason. Because I think all the T intersections were all coming from the same side. So when you were going through Payakumbu in one direction, you did have to stop at the red lights because the traffic was moving through in front of you. But on the other side, because it's a T intersection, there was nobody in front of you. So even if you did come to a stop, there was no reason to do it, if that makes any sense. There was no traffic in front of you, so I don't even know why there were red lights to begin with. But anyway, on this direction, you had to stop at all the red lights. The other direction, you could just go right through them. So that's what I did as well. But yeah, gorgeous day. Maybe I should have led with that because I wasn't even planning on going there at all. Or if I was going to go, I was going to go in the morning and then stay in a hotel because I was thinking, okay, if we do get any good weather, it's going to be in the morning and then it's just going to be rain for the rest of the day. So I was going to go in the morning, stay in a hotel, wait out the rain, and the next morning there might be a bit of a clearing, and then I could go to the Harau Valley and then back to the hotel. But I woke up in the morning and beautiful, beautiful blue skies. And according to the weather report, it was going to last a lot longer than they had been predicting. So I thought, I cannot waste this weather. And I wasn't planning on going to the Harau Valley yesterday. But yeah, I just hopped on the scooter and went. As soon as I saw the skies out there, I thought, man, I have to take advantage of this. And I took off and had beautiful weather all day long. It was amazing. So all the way to the end, the scenery was just spectacular because coming back, you go through some other wide valleys, flat areas between the mountains, just filled with brilliant green rice fields. And then as you get closer to Bukittinggi, you start seeing the volcanoes, Mount Merapi, and then Mount Singgalang in particular is always beautifully exposed. I took a couple of pictures of that. Yeah, it was stunning. Clear blue skies, green rice paddies, and then there's the volcano, and then right at the very top of the volcano, just a couple of white fluffy clouds. I mean, it was just picture perfect scenery because of the weather. It was so nice the whole day. So I really got lucky. I was prepared for rain, but the rain never showed up. In terms of what I did when I was at the valley, I mean, for me, the main thing to do was look at the scenery. And that's what I did. And then inside the main valley itself, there's this road that loops around. So, of course, got to ride around the entire loop to take in the scenery. I think if you go there with, I mean, you're, of course, this in life, you're not supposed to go to these places alone. You know, they're not designed for that. You're meant to go there with friends and family. And I think the way you're supposed to visit the valley, as I said, is you go with a family, you stay in one of the guest houses, and then you enjoy life in like staying overnight over 2 nights in this amazing scenery, and you get to see the sunrise and the sunset over the cliffs. You get all of that, the changes of the light during the day. And there are waterfalls with pools at the bottom, and you rent floaties, you know, colorful animal floaties and inner tubes, and you float on the pool underneath the waterfall. And then you go for near the waterfalls. They do have restaurants and snacks, and you can get food and drinks there. And so, I mean, that's what you would do. Me going there alone, I'm not sitting on a pink flamingo floaty out in the pool and playing beach volleyball or whatever else people do. I'm not doing those things, and I didn't stay overnight. So essentially what I did was go exploring and take video and take photos, and I rode all the way around. And one spot was really cool. I'm still puzzling about it a little bit, but I stopped at the side of the road because I saw these wooden walkways going out into the rice fields. And when I first saw them, I thought, oh, they must be built for the farmers to allow easy access to the farms, to the paddy fields, or they must be part of like a fish farming, like because there were some pools of water there. And I thought, oh, it must be aquaculture. But I don't think so. I think they were built deliberately for visitors, for tourists, to be able to walk out into the middle of the rice fields. And they have this crazy maze-like pattern. I don't know if the pattern makes any sense, to be honest. I was thinking about, okay, because you go out this way, but you can go this way, and it's like they crisscross and go in this weird geometric patterns all over the paddy fields. And I don't know if the design made perfect sense, but it was a lot of fun to go walking out there, and you're right in the middle of the paddy fields. And I got to see a couple of guys harvesting the rice, because I've been curious about the rice harvest. I see the rice planting all the time. I see the rice growing all the time. I see the aftermath of the rice harvest, but for some reason I never see rice being harvested. And I'm going, well, how exactly is it done around here? I mean, do they do it by machine? Do they do it by hand? But anyway, in this area, in the Harau Valley, they were definitely doing it by hand, and there were men out in the fields, in the mud, up to their thighs, like mid-thighs. I mean, the mud is so deep. And then they have a scythe, very, very sharp, and they would go to each bundle of rice and just cut, 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 cut. And behind them, they're pulling a plastic tarp, and then they put all these bundles together, put them on the tarp, acts almost like a boat, floating on top of the mud, and they pull it behind them to the next row of rice plants, and then cut, 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 cut onto the tarp, pull it forward, and then they would go back and forth through the entire rice field and cut everything by hand. Tough work in that sun, that hot sun, up to your mid-thigh in the mud. I assume there's insects out there too, probably biting insects. But anyway, yeah, that was very interesting to see. And then there were a couple of villages, as I said, so it was kind of cool to ride your scooter through the villages. And the far side of the Harau Valley, the road got quite a bit rougher. It was paved where all the guest houses were, because all through this area, like I said, it was just nothing but guest houses. It was like a heavily, heavily developed. So you shouldn't go there expecting natural, untouched wilderness. It's beautiful, definitely gorgeous, but it's fully developed. They even, it struck me funny, they even have a water park there. And not just any water park. It was like the gaudiest thing you've ever seen. To me, it looks so out of place. Luckily, it's not in the middle of the valley at the end. It's sort of like there's canyon walls that make like a bottleneck. You're out in a wider area, and you can see these big cliffs on both sides, and then the cliffs come together to make a narrow passageway, almost like a bottleneck. And I think it's right where that bottleneck forms, and then you go through this passageway, and the road curves between these two cliffs. Really, really beautiful. And then it opens out. The cliffs separate again and go around this big valley, you know, maybe 5 kilometers to the end of the valley. But at the very beginning, there is this water park, and they basically sat down and said, okay, how should we design this water park? And someone said, listen, we need all the colors. Like, what do you mean? You know, shouldn't we have it, you know, blend into the beauty? No. We want primary red, primary blue, primary, you know, we want the colors to burn your eyeballs, and let's just put blue, red, yellow everywhere. It's like one of the gaudiest things I've ever seen. It's really ugly, and it should not be there at all. You know, I'm surprised they approved it. But anyway, there it is. And if you're going there with a family and you need things for your kids to do, well, there's a water park. But it does stand out. It's like really out of place. It's like a sore thumb. It sticks out in that environment. Yeah, it's like one of the uglier things I've ever seen. But yeah, there it is, water park. Rock climbing as well. I saw one. I didn't see anyone doing it, but these huge cliff faces, I guess the rock is suitable for rock climbing. So they have some rock climbing, some camping areas. And then I'm all set to leave. I've seen everything. I've taken video of everything. I've driven all the way around it, and I went around it. I went around the whole thing once, and then I went around half of it a second time. So I felt like I'd absorbed my surroundings pretty well. But I kept thinking there had to be a bigger waterfall, because I saw one waterfall, 2 of them actually, and they're very thin, just little strips of water coming down. Very beautiful, no question about that, with the cliffs. But I remember seeing big pools and bigger waterfalls. And just as I was leaving, I was at an intersection, and I stopped to look at Google Maps to see, okay, I think I should go that way. And then I was looking at my Google Maps, and I said, oh, there's a waterfall over here on this road. Maybe I should go check that out. So almost again on impulse, I just turned left, and I went down this road that I didn't even know was there. I didn't think of it as being part of the Harau Valley, but it turns out it really was. So I went down this other road, and it was another big, beautiful district of the Harau Valley, with tons and tons of guest houses everywhere, gorgeous valleys and rice fields. And then there's in a corner, they have the big waterfalls. In terms of the water flow, they're not big. It's more like a water spray, but really spectacular setting, with the sheer cliff going straight up, and then the water coming down the cliff directly, like straight down into the pool. And it's quite a large pool. And I think on the weekends and holiday periods would be very crowded, because if you go by the number of floaties, there were so many of them, I couldn't believe it, because I felt like I was the only person there most of the time. The whole area seemed empty. All the guest houses were empty as far as I could tell. I ran into a family from Canada, from Montreal, they said. 5, mother, father, 3 kids, and chatted with them for a minute. And I saw a couple other local people, but really very, very, very few people, considering the scale of this whole area and the number of guest houses. So it felt completely empty. But around the main pool, they had piles of floaties and inner tubes. You know, you rent them, of course, you pay for them, and all these businesses are competing, I think, to get customers, and they have all of their floaties on display. And if you counted all the piles, and then if you put them all in the water all at once, there would be no water left. I'm pretty sure if you put all of them in, they would fill the entire pool from edge to edge. There would not be any room left. There are so many of them. So I got the impression that this area could get to, very, very crowded. So if you're allergic to that sort of atmosphere, you might want to go on a weekday. Don't go on the weekend. I didn't do very much in the way of snacking or drinking. I kept intending to, even in the main Harau Valley itself. There were a couple of little shops here and there. And I didn't have breakfast here. I didn't have breakfast on the way. I didn't have coffee. I didn't stop. I was really eager. I felt the pressure a little bit, thinking the rain is on its way, so I didn't really want to waste time. So I was focused on riding straight there. And I kind of wanted to get off the scooter and have a cup of coffee, but nothing really jumped out at me. It's like, oh, wow, I got to check this place out and have a cup of coffee. There was one cafe, like one actual coffee shop. And of course, you know what I'm going to say. It was closed. It wasn't open. But when you go into the villages, there were typical roadside, places where people can get noodles, and I'm sure they could make you a cup of coffee because they have all those 3-in-1 coffee mixes. But I've had those in the past. I've had them quite often, and they're terrible because the water is usually not really hot, and then they just open up one of these envelopes and pour in lukewarm water, and all this powder is just floating on the top, and you have to stir it for 10 minutes to try and get it. And I think it's designed, one of those packages would be for a cup like this, like a full mug, but they give you a much smaller one, and it's just, they're just awful. So there's no point having a cup of coffee at these places. And I never really had the urge. I saw all these places, and I thought I really should stop and have something there, but I never did. And then when I got around to the waterfall area, there were many more places there. There's actually a restaurant, like a Padang style restaurant, and I thought, oh, I'll have lunch there after I see the waterfalls. And there were a few snack shops here and there, but most of them were closed as well. They advertised all these amazing things, ice cream, mozzarella sticks, big beautiful signs promising these delights, but all of them were closed, so I couldn't really get those. At least when I had the idea to have them, the ones I saw were closed. This is at there were 2 waterfalls that I found, and at the final one, even in the main video, I was joking about how, oh, look, ice cream, and closed, mozzarella, oh, they don't have it. But I think on the way out, I did see a couple of places that I think they had mozzarella something or other, like sticks. So I probably could have had my mozzarella sticks, but I just wasn't in the mood. I don't know, nothing jumped out at me as, oh, this will be a great place to sit and relax. You could get food there, but there was nothing nice about them, the seating, the atmosphere. Anyway, so I just kind of walked by them until I got to a place that had fried, battered bananas. And if you do that to a banana, now you're speaking my language. And I forget what they called it, but they would take an entire banana, or maybe 2 bananas, probably just one, cut it up into slices, and then they fan it out like the fingers of your hand, and then they cover it in batter and then deep fry it. And I got 2 of them, and that's all I had the whole time. I don't think I had a single thing to drink the entire day. I don't think I had a cup of coffee. I didn't stop. I didn't have water. I didn't have anything. I did the camel thing, I guess, for the whole day. But I loved those banana things. I walked back out to where my scooter was parked. And again, I was looking for a place to sit and enjoy my snack. And as usual, there was no place. So, yeah, I'm just standing there and then eating my banana snacks because there's never any place to sit. That's one of my pet peeves. And I'm eating the snacks, and I'm thinking about going to that restaurant to have a meal. But then something happened that kind of got on my nerves a little bit, and I ended up just saying, oh, I'm just going to leave because there was a puppy, not a puppy, a mid-sized dog. Like it was a dog between puppy and adulthood, on a chain next to one of these little businesses or a house or something. And for some reason, a young girl there that was part of the family was just tormenting this dog, coming at it with a stick over and over again, threatening to beat it. And this dog was just screaming in fear, just screaming and cowering and like yelping and screaming and screaming. And it was pretty clear that this had been its whole life, that the people in this family had been beating on this dog. And it was so terrified that if this little girl even looked at the dog would start screaming in terror. And then she would come running at the dog with the stick, and the dog would scream and scream. And this went on the whole time that I was standing there. And the father of the family was there, big guy, big, powerful looking man, very muscular looking dude, great big belly on him. And then he was just sort of standing there looking at the puppy, looking at his, I assume was his daughter. You know, she never did hit the dog. She just kind of kept threatening it, and the poor dog was just screaming in terror, and the man was just standing there watching it, just letting his daughter do this. And you do see scenes like this quite a bit when you travel around this part of the world, and it's always an issue. Like, what do? You want to intervene, but he's the father of the family. There's people all around, like there are adults sitting all around watching this. And then it became pretty clear that the father was part of the problem as well, because he decided to move the dog. I don't know why, but he crouched down to undo the chain, and the dog just started screaming when he crouched down. And he undid the chain, and he wanted to move the dog, I don't know why, from here to here, a very short distance, and he was going to tie the chain to a scooter or something. And then he pulled up on the chain, so it was underneath the dog's neck, and just like pulled the dog all the way up off the ground, like strangling the thing and dragging it along the ground. And the dog is just screaming in terror and pain again. And he just dragged it and then tied it up there. And then the dog is all crouched over. Anyway, it was not a good scene. And as I said, everybody was sitting around watching it, and nobody seemed to think this was a problem. And then who am I, a guest in their country? I wanted to go over there and intervene. And what am I going to do? Get out Google Translate and could you please stop torturing your dog? I always have trouble with these scenes because I don't understand them. I mean, you can make a case for me that, okay, for me and my background, a dog is a family pet to be loved and, is part of the family. Here in many other places around the world, a dog is a working animal. This dog is not part of their family. They only have it to bark at intruders, to keep thieves away. That's the only purpose the dog has. No one ever pets it. No one touches it. It's not played with. It's just chained up and left there to bark at intruders. That's its job. So I'm like, okay, you can make that argument to me that, okay, this dog is not part of the family, so they don't actually have to fawn all over it and love it and pet it and make it happy and have it sleep in their beds at night, things like that. That's sort of a Canadian thing, that's a Western thing. But, okay, I'll grant you all of that, but it doesn't mean you have to torture it. I don't understand the mindset where you would do this to an animal and it's screaming in pain and screaming in terror and it has no effect on you, and you just do this anyway and you allow your children to do it. I don't know if I ever told the story, but I had an experience here in the village that really stuck with me and bothered me for a long time. I actually have it on video from a distance, where there was a young boy torturing a cat because there was a big, one of the big hunting dogs with some men that were fishing at a pond, and then there was a cat nearby. It's the cat that I like, the one that's always trying to catch birds and fish by this pond, by this tabak. And the little boy would run and grab the cat and then throw it at the dog. And then, of course, the dog would pounce on the cat and grab it, in its jaws and shake it. And then the cat would run away. And then the boy would run after the cat, grab it again, and throw it at the dog, so the dog would attack it again. And the adults were just watching this and thinking, oh, this is fine. Nobody stopped the boy, nobody intervened. But I lost it in that case because I knew that cat quite well. And then I came running up, and I probably shouted a bit louder than I should have. Nobody there would even understand what I was saying, but I stopped the boy from doing that. And the cat, oddly enough, you'd think the cat could have run away, but for some reason, again, it was so scared, it would run a certain distance and then stop and just sort of be in shock, I guess. And that's how the little boy could catch it each time and then throw it back at the dog. So at that point, when I came up and stopped the boy, the cat was nearby and was just like stone, was shaking and stationary. So I went up to the cat and I started petting it and talking nicely to it. And the little boy came up to me, and I felt like I was teaching him, like, no, like, this is what you do. Like, why are you trying to get the dog to kill the cat? This is what you do. And I was showing him petting the cat and scratching it under the chin. And the cat made a remarkable recovery from this torture. It just suddenly opened up and started rubbing against me and purring and doing all the cat things. And it was almost like the little boy was seeing something he'd never seen before. It was like, oh, that's kind of cool, It was almost like he didn't know how to pet an animal, like he could be taught this behavior and could be taught that taunting a dog with a cat and trying to get the dog to kill the cat, well, that's not a nice thing to do. Maybe you shouldn't do that. Like, why not make friends with the cat? And it was just a weird scene. It bothered me for days, and it bothers me to this moment because, again, I don't understand it. I don't understand the mentality where it would ever occur to you to do this, to throw a cat at a dog, like a neighborhood cat that lives there, any cat, or to torture this dog, at the waterfall when it's screaming in terror the whole time. It's like, what benefit? How does this benefit you? Like, I don't get it. Anyway, this was all going on while I was eating my banana snacks, and I thought, I got to get out of here. I can't listen to that anymore. And I was certainly not going to stop in a restaurant and have something to eat at that point. I was going to have lunch, but I thought, I can't sit there and enjoy my lunch while this is going on. So I just got on my scooter and, I left. I rode by the dog. By this point, all of this had stopped. The man had moved the dog, chained it to a new place. The little girl had drifted off. The man had drifted off. And the dog was just sitting on the ground and being a chained up dog. So there was nothing for me to do at that point. And I looked at the dog, and short of gathering it up in my arms and putting it on the scooter and racing away with it, I mean, what am I going to do, right? So, that's why I left from the waterfalls, and I did not have my lunch as I planned. And when I left from the Harau Valley, I took a different road at the very beginning because I saw something on that road on Google Maps about a lookout point. And I was hoping to be able to go to the top of the cliffs. Oh man, drones. I keep talking about drones, and I keep saying that drone footage is sort of cheating because you don't actually see what a drone sees when you're at ground level. So it's almost like making a YouTube travel video. If you use drone footage, it's kind of cheating because you show people how beautiful it is, and yet none of that beauty is apparent to a normal visitor because you're seeing it from the air, and in normal people, you just see it from the ground. However, I keep talking about how amazing the drone footage would be, and man, this valley, I mean, I thought it was this area is so drone friendly, I think. It almost makes me want to like fly to Malaysia, get out my credit card, buy a drone and come back just to shoot drone video, put it on my credit card because I can't afford that drone, but then get that drone and fly it at the Harau Valley, at Saramonic Canyon here in Bukit Tinggi, at these places. I think the footage from a drone of the Harau Valley, I'd love to see that. I wonder what it would look like. Maybe it isn't as dramatic. Like this might be one case where seeing it from the ground is better because you do have these sheer cliffs, rocky cliffs going up on all sides. And so you see that from the ground and it looks pretty amazing. But I do wonder what it would look like from the air, because when I did leave, like I said, I was hoping a road would take me to the top of the cliffs, but that didn't seem to be a possibility. But there was a panorama, and this road climbed a little bit, but the road climbed up just enough, and it went around a curve with an opening, and you got an expansive view of this valley down below with the cliffs on the other side. It was stunning. It was really, really gorgeous. And again, but I think a drone footage of that place would be really nice. Yeah. And then, so I took that road, stopped off at the lookout point, absorbed the scenery, then I came down, and then I rode all the way back through Payakumbuh. That's when I blasted through all the red lights, Mad Max on the scooter, just going, passing trucks and at 1,000,000 miles an hour. I was really feeling my powerful 125cc scooter. I was feeling it. So yeah, I drove pretty hard, pretty fast. Though scooters are really funny, to be honest. Bicycles too. I've talked about this before. They're an illusion in terms of speed, because I'll be hitting the accelerator and I feel like I'm going at rocket speed. I'm like, man, this is the life. Just racing along at high speed. You're feeling cool. You picture yourself with a leather jacket and Oakley shades on, or whatever the cool motorcycle shades are. And then you look down at your speedometer, and then you're brought down to earth because you're doing 50 kilometers per hour, right? You're only going 50, and yet you feel like you're going at the speed of light. You hit 60 on a scooter, man, you feel like you are going at light speed. It's just a different feeling on a scooter. If you're in a car, like in a car in Canada, doing 50 kilometers an hour, you don't even notice it. You feel like you're crawling along. I mean, you blow past 50 by accident. Anyway, but on a scooter, on the roads here, you hit 50 and you're moving, you're trucking. You feel like it anyway. So even though I'm talking about how fast I was going, I was still doing 50 kilometers an hour at the most, right? So that's pretty crazy. But it was a lot of fun. The trucks I was passing, I mean, they were doing 30. So, go around them at 50, you feel like you're moving fast. But it was a lot of fun. I was forced to pass again and again and again and again and again. So you have to be a very active driver, as I said. And as I went through Payakumbuh, I had one other interesting experience. I wanted to get gas, and I kind of made a mistake though, because I was waiting for a big gas station, and I wanted the gas station to be on the left side of the road. I passed one or two big ones, like big Pertamina stations that were on the right, and they looked like big modern gas stations, and I wanted to get gas there, but then you got to turn across traffic and then rejoin traffic by crossing over traffic again, and it's really hard to do. It's dangerous to do because the traffic is nonstop. So in a scooter, basically you have to hit your turn signal and then stop in the middle of the road, wait for a break in traffic, and turn right. But that's really dangerous to do here because people aren't expecting scooters to be stopped in the middle of the road waiting to turn right. That's very rare here, and you can really get hit from behind doing that. So I avoid it at all costs. So I always wait. If I want to stop to get a carton of milk from a convenience store or gas, I wait until there's a store on the left side, and then you can just turn directly into the parking lot and then turn back out onto the road. Going across traffic, turning right is really dangerous to do. So I skipped those gas stations, and then I saw a gas station on the left, and I pulled in there, But it's kind of funny. I'm repeating all the things I experienced when I rode from Payakumbu on my bicycle. And I remember this gas station in particular because it was jammed. There's a big lineup of scooters and cars at every pump. And the video I shot that day on my bicycle, I was so surprised by this, I turned my bicycle into the parking lot just to take video of this massive lineup because I thought, something weird going on. Like, is there a gas shortage or something? I didn't know. Then I took video of it. I rode through the parking area, and then I rejoined and kept cycling. And it was that gas station that I happened to come across, and I pulled into it, and I saw this huge lineup. And for a minute, I thought, wow, there's got to be a better gas station than this one. I'll just keep going. I thought, and then I couldn't remember. It's like, well, is there another gas station? Did I pass one? I couldn't quite be sure. So I thought, I'll just join the lineup. It'll be interesting anyway. It'll be an experience. So I brought my scooter to the end of the line and I just waited my turn. And it was an experience. It was interesting. I'm really interested in human behaviors, how people behave in public, especially in lineups and things like that. And just to see all the behaviors that people adopted, where, for example, they put their motorcycle or their scooter in the lineup, but the sun was beating down. And me, of course, I just sat there in the sun baking. But all the local people, they put their scooters there, put it on the kickstand, and then they got off their scooters and went and they found a little patch of shade underneath this roof. And all the people on their scooters would just gather in this tight little group hiding from the sun. And only the dumb foreigner, I was the only one out there, it seemed, just like actually sitting on my scooter. And then every time the person at the front of the line, they filled their gas tank and then they could move their scooter and everybody could move up one position. All the people in the shade would all come running out to their scooters, move it one position forward, get off and go back into the shade again. So they kept going back and forth, to move their scooter one spot at a time, until they finally got to their turn to get gas. But they weren't going to do what I was doing, which was stay, right beside my scooter the whole time. Only dumb foreigners stay out in the sun that long and developing my farmer's tan, right? So that was kind of funny, and I was kind of impressed with people. Oh well, I was going to say that, but no, not quite. It seemed like people were aware of the big lineup, and they were doing things in advance to make it go faster for the people behind them. So they're moving their scooters ahead, but while they were doing this, they already opened the seat to get at the gas can, and they'd already opened the gas can. So they had everything ready to go. They had the money ready to go. Most people, luckily, were not just filling the gas tank. They had a set amount. So they had 10,000 rupiah ready, and they would tell the guy, 10,000. So 10,000, 10,000, gone. 25,000. So they told exactly how much they wanted to pay. And that way the guy didn't have to mess around with change. Nobody's paying with a debit card. Nobody's paying with a credit card. It would not be possible. Cash only. And of course they would, as I said, specify an exact amount. So things are moving. I think people were doing this to keep the line moving. But I do remember seeing a couple of people and other people getting very frustrated with them. Where, like in my case, when I got my tank filled up, I moved my scooter out of the way instantly. Like the second I was done, like I didn't sit there and adjust myself. It's not like, oh, I'm going to put my helmet back on. I'm going to put my money away. I'm going to put on the gas can. I'm going to do this. I'm going to put my naps. I just, as soon as the tank had gas in it, I moved out of the way, even before I got my change. So then the next person could just move right into position. And then the guy would hand me the change, and then I'd move my scooter way out of the way, and then I could arrange everything and get ready. But then there were people in line who did all the arranging. They got their gas, and then now they're done, basically, But then they would take quite a long time to put their money away, to get organized, to close the gas can, put down the seat, do this. And they get on the scooter, but then the man's wife would be there, but she has to get on behind him, and she's got bags from shopping at the market, and now they're putting the bags down and here. And people behind them are like, come on, move it. Now, of course, what they wanted him to do was, as soon as he's got the gas, move out of the way, and then he and his wife can get all organized with their bags and things. So people were not all the people were aware of the urgency of the situation. The funny thing is, though, after I went through all this and I got the gas, and then I'm riding down the highway on my way to Bukitingi, I must have passed a half a dozen similar gas stations, like big Pertamina stations, completely empty. So if I'd just held on and just drove right past this one, I had many options in order to pull into a big, beautiful Pertamina station, go right up to the pump, and there would have been no long wait and none of this going on at all. But I forgot how many gas stations there were. But anyway, so that was kind of funny. I don't know why. I guess that one downtown Payakumbu is just so busy because it is downtown and everybody goes there. But if you just rode a short distance up the road, there's lots of other gas stations, and that's what I should have done. Now I know better. So when I come back from Malaysia with my drone and I do that ride again, I'll know where to get gas next time. Yeah. Another funny thing is that as I was riding the scooter, I mentioned this in my main video for Planet Doug as well. As I was riding it, I commented that since I'd done this road once by bicycle when I rode from Payakumbu to Bukitingi, I remembered everything so clearly. I think when you ride a bike, as I mentioned before, the scenery and landmarks and events and experiences, they really get burned into your brain and you remember things quite clearly. And that day that I rode my bike into Bukitingi was a really hard day. I woke up in a hotel in Payakumbu, and then I rode from there to Bukitingi in one day, which is not a great distance for a cyclist, but it was uphill the entire way, and it rained when I got into Bukitingi, and I think in Bukitingi itself it flooded. I mean, there was a torrential downpour. When I was riding mainly through drizzle, but it was enough to soak me, and I had to get off at the side of the road and put all my rain covers on all my gear and stuff like that. And I stopped for mie ayam bakso, my favorite meal, and I remember exactly where I stopped on my bicycle because it was a very rare kind of restaurant. Most restaurants that I come across, tend to be a little bit rough, fairly uncomfortable seating. It's pretty rare to find a nice restaurant. It's like, oh wow, and like in the middle of what feels like nowhere. So I was riding my bike that day, and then across, it was on the right side of the road, which was unfortunate because I did have to do that, get across traffic to pull into the parking lot. And on my bicycle and yesterday on the scooter, both times, it was nerve-wracking. It was death-defying. But I made it across. It's a really nice restaurant with lots of tables, fully set, like with all the sauces and things and snacks on the table, comfortable chairs, amazing mie ayam bakso, some of the best I've ever had, really good. They had, table attendants, servers, came to my table and, what would you like, sir? And mie ayam bakso, and I got, lemon iced tea, and it was just a really nice place to eat. And I remembered it so clearly from my bike trip that the whole, even before I started the ride to go to the Harau Valley, I was already thinking on my way back, I'm going to stop at that mie ayam bakso restaurant again. It was such a great place. I'm going to go there again. And I was looking forward to it the whole day. And all the times when I wasn't eating and I wasn't drinking, each time I comforted myself with thinking, well, this afternoon you're going to have mie ayam bakso. And then when I left from the waterfalls after, the terrified dog scene made me not have lunch there, I still hadn't had anything to eat all day long. So I was really counting on that mi ayam bakso. And then when I saw it, there it is. And it was open. Oh, I was so excited. Pulled my scooter in there and I sat down and ordered. And of course, the women there, they're like 3 or 4 servers and cooks, whatnot. And I remember showing up there on my bicycle and like there's panic in the air everywhere. It's like, boule, what do we do? What do we do? And they all start teasing each other. It's like, you go. No, you go. You speak English. You go. It's always a big event when I walk into a restaurant. But yeah, I ordered mi ayam bakso and it was so good. Yeah, I want to ride there every day just to have another one. Now that I have the scooter, it's pretty far. It's a long ways to go for a mi ayam bakso, but man, it's worth it. But the story I wanted to tell was paying for it, and this happens to me all the time. Maybe I should get my wallet because this is kind of a show and tell. Let me grab my wallet. I just went through the contents of my wallet, and unfortunately I can't show you exactly what I'm talking about, but I can show you a little bit. The mi ayam bakso was 20,000 rupiah, and the iced tea was 5,000, and I ordered 2 iced teas, so my bill came to exactly 30,000 rupiah. And so, I went to pay at the end, as you do, and the woman said to me, 30,000. She said it really fast, and I didn't really understand her. It's funny how, again, I find this an odd habit around the world, where when they're dealing with me as a foreigner, and it's obvious I didn't understand what they said, the other person almost never slows down. Like, I don't know why people don't grasp this idea that she said to me, like really fast, and I was like, could you say that again? It's clear I didn't understand. My instinct would be, if I was doing this in English as a store clerk or an attendant, and I was dealing with a tourist who has trouble with English, I would slow down. I think I would. It would just be an instinct. I was like, $5, $5. I don't know. I would use sign language. I would slow down. I would speak more clearly because it's obvious this person didn't understand what I said. So obviously you slow down and say it again. But this woman and a lot of local people they just don't do that. She just sort of said it again, like really, really fast. I'm like, sorry, I could not make it out. And she did it a third time, and then I heard 30,000. Okay, I got it. Like, all you needed to do was speak more clearly, and I will understand. But they just don't. So now I'm thinking, 30,000. That's easy. So what I do is get out a 20,000 note and a 10,000 note. Easy. Because one of the main currency, one of the main bills here is 20,000 and 10,000. So I got out a 20 and a 10, handed it to her, and then she kind of looked at the money, and then she said something again. And I'm like, so I guess I misunderstood. So I'm like, what exactly? And blah, 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 speaking really fast, and I have no idea what's going on. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure she said 30,000. So now I kept saying to her, okay, I think she wants more than 30,000. That was my assumption. Okay, so just tell me, just slow down and make it more clear. So you want 30,000 and what? Like, how much more? Like, here's 30,000. She's clearly not happy with that, 30,000. So I say, 30,000 and like, how much more? Like, just tell me. And it turns out that this entire misunderstanding was all my fault, because instead of giving her a 20,000 bill, I had given her a 2,000 bill. So I'd given her a 10 and a 2. I thought I'd given her a 10,000 and a 20,000, but I'd given her a 10,000 and a 2,000. And the reason is they all look the same. And I wanted to show you the 20,000 compared to a 2,000, but I can't. But here, for example, is a 2,000 and a 1,000. You tell me which is which, quickly, when you're fumbling through your wallet. I mean, the money is old, right? It's worn out. It's the same color, almost identical. And the 20,000 looks almost the same. It's also green. And of course, you've got, a 2,000 and a 20,000. In the heat of the moment, I find it so hard to tell the difference. And you end up with so many of these 2,000 notes, your wallet is jammed with these things. And so you're sorting through trying to find a 20,000. And when you're moving fast, like even right now, I'm staring at that and it looks like 20,000 to me, the 2000. I want a comma in there. I need a 2 and a comma and 000, or 20 and a comma and a 000. But when you put all the zeros together, I can't tell the difference between any of these bills. So I finally looked down at the money I'd given her, and I saw this 2,000, and I went, oh, that's 2,000. I thought it was a 20,000, and I went back into my wallet and I got out a 20,000. So now I could give her the right amount of money. And of course, like a moron, I'm now trying to explain to her what the problem was. Like I'm actually showing her the 2,000 and the 20,000, and I'm telling her kind of in English and sign language, like, oh, because they look the same. I thought I had given you 20,000, but look, they're the same color, and how do you count all those zeros? And I'm trying to explain all this to her, and of course she has no idea what I'm talking about or what I'm explaining or why I'm even bothering. She's like, just give me the money, 30,000 ribu, tiga puluh ribu. And so I gave her the money, and they're all just laughing hysterically. Not at me, they're laughing at her because she was the poor person who had to deal with the boule. And they're all like, oh no, you do it, you do it, you do it, I don't want to do it. And then she was the one who drew the short straw. And as she was dreading the whole interaction with the boule, turned into this weird situation that she'll probably never understand. She has no idea what my problem was. And the whole 2,000, 20,000 problem, that poor woman and all her friends, her coworkers, they're all laughing and having a good time. So yeah, that'll teach you to step up and deal with the boule, So that was pretty funny. But I do that all the time. I can't. How many times have I handed over 2,000 and then the cashier or whoever it is just kind of hands it back to me like, well, what am I supposed to do with this? And then it ends up this thing, and it finally dawns on me, oh, I thought that was 20,000. I make that same mistake over and over again. And I do wonder whether the government authorities have figured this out, because I noticed that when I came back this time, I think I'm seeing new colors or brighter colors. Like this, I don't think I've seen this design for the 5,000 before. So at least this is sort of a different color. I need it to be brighter. Man, like you got to make your bills brighter so I can easily, in the depths of my wallet, and at least 50,000 is blue, but even these bills are so old, the colors fade, and inside your wallet, it's really hard to see the difference. The 10,000 is a kind of purple, but even the purple fades in with the other ones. Like you're digging around in the depths of your wallet, and then this money is also very wrinkled, so it all ends up kind of crumbled up in your wallet. And I'm like, it's like take some of it. Like just take some of this money because I can't figure it out. Yeah, like here's all these. Yeah, I mean there's a good example. I mean there's a 10 that used to be purple, and a 5 I guess that used to be orange. But I mean they're so close in color now. They're just basically dirty. And I think it would help me, like I said, if there was a comma. If you separate the 000s, then it makes, because even the 10,000, the big bill up is 100,000, right? And it's really just like, what you're sitting there like, okay, how many zeros? Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, you're counting the zeros. Like, oh, okay, that's 100,000. 1, 2, 4 zeros. Oh, that's 10,000. You know. Anyway, I often dread the payment system, the moment when I have to pay, because I know I'm going to be digging through my wallet and I'm going to have trouble again. So I often end up giving them 100,000 because it's just easier. You know, it sidesteps the whole problem where you're trying to understand exactly what they said. I mean, oh, heaven help you if the price is in the hundreds, because then I'm totally lost. Like if it's just 1,000, like 15,000, 28,000, 19,000, 6,000, then I have a prayer of understanding. But if the amount at the cash register turns out to be 16,390, I'm like, okay, I'm done. You know, I have no idea what is going on, and then I'll just take out 100,000 and I'll just hand over 100,000. It's like, okay, you just give me change, and whatever change you give me, I'll be happy with. And quite often, of course, the businesses don't have any change, so you can only do that in certain stores. So I've worked out a whole system. Like every time I get gas, I always pay with 100,000 note just so I can get change. If I go to an actual grocery store and, you know, it's a big place with cash registers and even they won't have change, but at least they can get it. So there, I'll whip out 100,000 and I'm always apologizing. It's like I put on this whole big show because you know, it's like my whole life is a Seinfeld episode, because I do have small change. I do have enough small change, but I need to collect so much small change. I don't want to waste it. So I have my wallet divided into 2 sections, and I have the 100,000 rupiah notes here, and I have all the other bills here, and they're separate. So what I end up doing is, you know, while I'm going up to the cash register, I pretend I'm looking for small change because I don't want to be rude. I don't want to just sort of flip, you know, here's 100,000, give me the change. You know, I don't want to be this rude person. And I do see a lot of those people, which also puzzles me. I see men in particular because they keep money in their pocket sometimes, and in their pocket, the money will actually end up like a crumpled ball, and they'll pull this out of their wallet. It's usually the men getting cigarettes that do this, I've noticed. And then they just take this little ball and they just throw it onto the counter. And he's like, oh, there you go. And then they look away. And then the woman, it's normally women at the cash register, and then they have to take this little ball, you know, and they're smoothing it out because they got to put it into their machine, you know. And it seems very, very rude to me. But a lot of men do that. But even in your wallet, quite often this money gets really crumpled, so you have to kind of sort through it, and it's really hard to find the right change. So what I do when I'm standing in line and I know I'm going to give the woman 100,000 rupiah, and because I want the small bills, I pretend I'm looking for the small bills. So I'm like, I make a big shot. Like, I want everyone to watch me as I'm fumbling, and I'm like, I don't have enough small change. I'm so sorry. I don't have enough small change. And then I'll take out the 100,000. I'm like, sorry, and I'll say 100,000. Is that okay? 100,000. You know, 100,000. I'm so sorry, but that's. Oh, look. That's all I have. And I have to be careful to open it to the side that only has 100,000 notes in it, because I'm saying, look, I don't have any small change, and I open it to all the small change. Oh, sorry, I did that. It's my life. It's what I do. I do silly things. But you have to monitor your change all the time, or you find yourself in the market someday or every day, and you're trying to buy banana, like fried banana, for 5,000 at the Waterfall. You can't give that woman 100,000. She's not going to have change for you. So you have to be very careful. You got to keep accumulating small change. The little restaurant here the little restaurant or the little house here in the village where I usually get my lunch, I've tried to pay her sometimes with a 100,000 note because it really was all I had. And then she's like, or I thought it was all I had. And she's like, yeah, I don't have change for that. I can't change it. So, yeah, you have to stay on top of this thing. And if you have a chance to pay with a 100,000 note, you have to take advantage of it because eventually you're going to need the small change. So that was my payment adventure at the Mi Ayam Bakso place. Yeah, it was pretty funny. So yeah, I left from there, and then I stopped off at a grocery store, bought some cornflakes at the grocery store, made sure to pay with a 100,000 rupiah note. I don't have much small change right now. I'm running low, to be honest. Yeah, I don't have much, so I gotta stay on top of that. And then I came back here. Today, I think I have plans to visit the man of the house. Like long ago, the family that I met that owns this house, who offered it to me as a place to store my bicycle and then as a place to stay. He is currently in Padang because for his company, he splits his time between Pekanbaru and Padang. He works for a big fertilizer company in sales. So he's currently in Padang, and then today he's driving, well, tomorrow he's driving back to Pekanbaru, but he has a family house in another town about 20 to 30 kilometers away from here. So what he's going to do is ride to his family home, stay there overnight, and then tomorrow ride the rest of the way. So he contacted me and said, hey, you've got a scooter now. Do you want to come meet me at my family house? Because this is his wife's family's house. His family house is over there, if that makes any sense. So he's going to stay in his family house tonight. And he said, yeah, why don't you hop on your scooter, zip down the road, and I can show you my family house here. So I think if the weather stays clear, that's what I'm going to be doing this afternoon. So I don't think I'm heading off on a big day trip. I'm not going to go to a big tourist attraction today. So I'm going to edit video today, things like that, and then this afternoon hop on the scooter and ride to meet my friend at his family house, and maybe he will give me a tour of his village, of his town, where he grew up. So that is going to be today, and I think I will end my behind-the-scenes video there. I have some pop culture update thoughts. I have some other thoughts, but I think I will leave it there. And I will just end this video with the behind the scenes of going to the Harau Valley. Nice place. Highly recommended. I'm thinking more and more highly of Bukit Tinggi as a real tourism destination, like for someone from Malaysia who wants to go on a holiday. I think it would work out. You're not, I'm sure you can find luxury here if that's what you're looking for, but it would mainly be more of an experiential kind of holiday. But there are enough things to do here to keep you busy for a holiday. Like if you land in Bukit Tinggi and you put together all of these nearby attractions, like the canyon that's here, Saramonic Canyon, the Harau Valley, the volcanoes. Yeah, there's enough here, I think, to keep you busy. And if you make a list of all the tourist attractions and you add the Harau Valley to it, yeah, there's a lot to do around here. And the Harau Valley is really beautiful, definitely worth visiting. Spend a night or two there, would be really nice. So that's it. The story of my day trip on my scooter to the Harau Valley. And I'll see you in the next video.